Good morning, everyone, and welcome. My name is Rob Snook, and I'm joined by National Academy Director and Head Coach Mike Frogley. Welcome to the Wheelchair Basketball Canada National Training Center here at the Toronto Pan Am Sports Centre. It's the featured game between Team Canada and Team Argentina. Thanks for joining us this morning, whether you're in Canada or you're in Argentina or anywhere else in the world. It's a full house. The school kids are here. We're excited. It's an exhibition match. It could be a preview of the Lima Para-Pan Am Games later this summer, presented by Wheelchair Basketball Canada. And now, Mike, more on that.
Yeah, both teams are well underway in the process of qualifying for Tokyo. The Canadian men and the Canadian women are both gearing up to qualify at the Paralympic qualifier in Lima, Peru later this summer. The Canadian men will be vying for one of the 3 spots available out of our zone, and the Canadian women will be vying for one of the 2 spots out of this zone. The Canadian men are hosting the Argentinian men and the Dutch men all this week in a test series as all 3 of these teams get ready to qualify for Tokyo.
And Mike, last week we were here and we watched an absolutely compelling game. It was the 4th game of the week between Team Canada's women and the Dutch women. The Dutch had won the first few games. Canada came on strong for an incredible 2-point victory at the end. What are your highlights from that one?
Well, I was really impressed. The Canadian women did a great job playing defense. I love the up-court pressure. It disrupted the Dutch. They made contact. They forced them wide. And then they generated some key inside baskets, scoring at the rim through their cross picks and creating space. And we saw that from people contributing like Rosie Lalonde and Elodie Tessier.
So those were the women's teams. These are the men's teams. And here is your Team Canada roster. Let's take a look first at the Canadian side.
So some key players to watch for Canada. Obviously, the veteran Patrick Anderson. He's known worldwide, widely regarded as the best player in the world, and arguably one of the best players of all time. So he's a key player to watch. Young Nick Gonshin really came into his own at the World Championships, and now he's going to be looking to be more consistent. But we want to look and see if there's a 3rd or 4th scorer to come out of the Canadian team, and they've been working on that over the past couple of months as they lead up.
And then on Team Argentina, we don't know as much about them, but you have done your homework.
Yeah, the big player to watch for people at home, it's going to be number 14, Adolfo Burden. Adolfo really runs their offense and runs their defense. And the more he can control the offensive end and defensive end, the more that will be in the favor of the Argentinians. But there'll be some other key people. If he's able to get number 8, Gustavo Villafane involved, number 13, Adrian Perez involved, and then offside, Christian Gomez or another big player. Those will be keys to their victory as well.
So it is Team Argentina, the reigning South American champions, against Team Canada. And both teams are in a very important part of their cycle to get ready for the Pan American Games, the Para-Pan American Games coming up later this year in Lima, Peru. And Canada will have to be one of the top 3 teams at that tournament, as will Argentina, to try to earn a spot in next year's Paralympic Games in Tokyo, Japan. We really want to welcome, and you can hear them making noise, all of the schools that are in attendance. 8 schools, over 1,200 in attendance in terms of students. And I'll just quickly give you the names of the schools. Guildwood Public School, Poplar Road Junior Public, Cedar Drive Public School, all in the Scarbourough area. Scarborough Village School, Charles Gordon Public School, Mason Road Junior Public School, Morrish Public School, and Melbourne Junior Public School. For many of these kids, it'll be the first time they've ever seen a wheelchair basketball game. For others, maybe they've seen lots on TV and seen the likes of Patrick Anderson. And we thought, Mike, that maybe Patrick wasn't going to play today. That's what he wasn't on the original lineup roster. He's had some injury issues. He had a doctor's appointment for his finger. And the great news is he rolled in about 10 minutes ago.
Yeah, he made it through the traffic on the DVP and the 401, which all Torontonians are more than familiar with. But Pat's been recovering from an injury to his shooting index finger over the past month. The thing that that's interesting about it is I haven't actually seen a big difference in Pat's practicing his ability and practice his ability to score. And so I don't think we're going to see a big effect from that today. And he's well on his way to recovery, and he's on track for being fully ready to go in Lima.
Well, and you know, all of these athletes are going to be inspired by the crowds on hand. I think it just kind of gives you a little bit of extra fuel in the tank.
Yeah, it's going to be what a great opportunity for these school kids to get a chance to see a player like Patrick Anderson live. You know, this is one of the most decorated team sport athletes in Canadian history. He's got 3 Paralympic gold medals and a silver. He's heading towards his 5th Paralympics. An absolutely outstanding player, and they get to see him live today. And the great thing is, Pat is ready to play every single day. That's one of the things that makes him great, is every day he comes ready to play, he brings his best.
I often tell people I literally think he is one of the best athletes in Canada, bar none, on the list of probably 5. And they say to me, do you think you mean Paralympic athletes? I say, no. I'm talking athletes in Canada. This guy is phenomenal. So we're so happy that Patrick Anderson will be able to play. And now coming to center court for a ceremonial tip-off, a couple of very special guests. The Consulate General of Argentina, Mrs. Amelia Maria Lonardi, along with Member of Provincial Parliament, Vijay Thanksalam. And first we'll have our national anthems. One of the most majestic national anthems you will hear. Two teams almost ready for tip-off. It's Team Canada, Team Argentina in wheelchair basketball, an international friendly as it were, but the competition will be fierce. And we're getting ready for our ceremonial tip-off. Canadian co-captain David Eng, Team Argentina captain Adolfo Burden, and they'll be joined at center court by MPP Vijay Thanksalam, as well as the Consulate General of Argentina, Mrs. Amelia Maria Lonardi. two veteran internationals who've seen their share of important international games, Mike. Paralympic Games, World Championships, Para-Pan Am Games. They've been through all of those battles.
Yep, Adolfo Burden, he plays professionally in Europe, and so he's a seasoned veteran, and David Eng has been on the Canadian men's program since 2004 and been part of all of the journey along the way and the success they've enjoyed.
So, Mike, as we get set for tip-off, the real tip-off here in moments, what should we be expecting in this morning's game?
Yeah, there's really going to be some key things for the Canadians. One, they really have to improve their defense. Last year at the World Championships, they were the second top-scoring team. It was the defense that was a struggle. So the first thing they've got to do, they've got to make contact and control contact with their wheels. That'll allow them to push the Argentinians out wide off the edge of the key so their height's not a factor, and disrupt the set they want to run. They want to maintain matchups so that we don't end up having a little player matched up against one of their bigger players who ends up shooting over top of us. And the offensive side, it's creating scoring at the rim, and that's going to start with making sure that the Canadians can get the Argentinians off the edge of the key, pull them out into space, recreate space when necessary, and we're going to see, that's when we'll see a really strong offside attack.
Team Canada's keys to victory against Argentina. Canada, the home team, they are wearing their red jerseys, and Team Argentina is in white. It's Team Canada, Team Argentina. Tip-off is next. Stay with us.
If you laugh, laugh. If you dance, dance. Own it. If you run, run. If you drive, drive. Further. Higher. There's more out there. The all-new RAV4. Together, so much more.
And back at the Toronto Pan Am Sports Centre, also wheelchair basketball, Canada's home, and such an important place for Canadian players, men's, women's, juniors to develop, isn't it, Mike? And you're a big part of that.
Well, so last week we talked about the importance of it for the Canadian women's team. They had 8 of their 12 players who had spent significant time training together as they came up in the Canadian system. On the men's side, even more important, 9 of the 12 players have trained here for significant amounts of time, literally multiple years. And that's really helped them develop the skills that they need to be able to compete at this level. It's a great blend of veteran experience on the Canadian men's team combined with emerging young players, setting them up for both a run at Tokyo and then a future run at Paris and LA in 2024 and 2028. And great programs are defined by repeated success and not winning just once.
Take us through Teams Canada's starting lineup. We see Bo Hedges there, number 6, and Jonathan Vermette, number 13, David Eng, number 15. What do those players mean to this side?
Well, in a couple of the different players, obviously in Nick Gonchin, we have a very, very talented young man. I can't wait to see him emerge over the coming years. He's got some really neat skills that are going to make his game unique for him. Some things he can do in terms of his speed and mobility. In David Eng, you've got an emotional leader. This is the heart of the Canadian team. This guy feels possessions. He doesn't just play possessions. Bo Hedges, that's like having a coach on the court. Like, he sees all the detail behind the game. And then in Tyler Miller and Joe Vermette, you've got 2 physical 1-5s and 1s that are really going to be key to pushing the Argentinians out wide. So a great blend of youth and veterans here in the starting lineup. Obviously, we're going to see Patrick Anderson today. Probably still getting a little bit loose. He got here a little bit late, missed some of his warm-up. He still has some more preparation before he gets out on the court.
Not bad when you're bringing Patrick Anderson off of your bench.
That's a luxury.
Argentina will have Adrian Perez on the tip against David Eng. Argentina lineup will have Joel Gabas, Gustavo Villafañe, their captain Adolfo Burden, and Maximiliano Ruggeri. And Argentina starts with the ball and will look to attack first. Gabas, and misses the first shot of the game.
Right off the bat, it looks like the Argentinians trying to get themselves a little bit loose and warmed up.
And Nick Gonchin's shot hits glass, hits rim, and bounces out. So it's Argentina back on offense. Ruggeri, Villafañe, he can hit from outside, and that's off the mark as well. Still looking for our first basket. Opening minute, Team Canada, Team Argentina. Tyler Miller for David Eng, up over top, and there's our first basket of the morning.
David Eng doing a great job taking the time he has and not rushing that post-up opportunity.
Underneath, Perez, but it went off of Argentina. Canada's going to get the ball back. And what are you looking for Canada to set up here right away, Mike?
So I'm really looking to see if Canada gets low enough and wide enough with the first two players down to create space and begin to pull the Argentinian players off the edge of the key.
Gonchin brings down the rebound. Hedges slings back to Gonchin. A long two. It's short. Gets his own rebound. Puts it up. And it does not want to fall for Nick Gonchin.
Both teams look a little bit like they're trying to feel themselves out. This is the first game of the test series, so they're just starting to get the rust off, I think.
Gabas is fouled underneath by David Eng, who didn't like the call. So Eng with Canada's basket and Eng with Canada's first foul.
So right off the bat, it looks like Canada's having a difficult time getting that contact that's needed. And it's starting in the middle of the court. The defensive transition isn't quite as quick, and they're not communicating quite well enough to be able to establish where they want to go to get their matchups and make contact.
Gabas sinks for Argentina. Here comes Gonchin in the left wing. Crosses, thinks about crossing, puts up a three, and that's just off the mark. And here comes Ruggeri for Argentina. Gonchin hustling back on defense. Burden back to Villafañe. Underneath, under pressure. And Eng comes in, slaps the ball away. And he's going to take another foul. So they're saying that's his first, Mike.
Yeah, so David Eng coming from behind to block that shot. Okay, great read on defensive rotation. Probably didn't need to block it that much. In fact, as much ball as he got, he probably could have just reached up and taken that from Gabas.
Gabas is good. Argentina with no one on the line, so they're back ready to go on defense. So the lead is 2. Gonchin for Canada. Nick Gonchin recently announced as one of the Toyota athletes, a huge boost for his push forward towards Tokyo and beyond, as Canada's going to get a break here. Went off the fingertips of the Argentinian player.
Yeah, it was a great scoring opportunity for Canada, and it started with a pick in the backcourt. That's one of the ways they can create space against the Argentinians.
Hedges. And it goes for Bo Hedges.
That's a tough shot to hit. 15-foot post up with a hand in your face. So Canada's starting to push them wide now, starting to get wheels on the Argentinian players.
Gabas, Villafañe for 2, a long 2. And it rattles out.
It's much better defensive possession by Canada there, getting wheels on chairs earlier and pushing the Argentinians wide and disrupting their offense.
Gonchin from the other side, and he's good.
So now at the other side, the Canadians starting to pull the Argentinians out off the edge of the key. They're getting a little bit of space to get open looks.
And already our first timeout of the game. Today's game is presented by Wheelchair Basketball Canada with the support of our proud partners, the Government of Canada, Toyota Canada, Sunrise Medical. Wheelchair Basketball Canada's vision is to be the world leader in wheelchair basketball.
So right now, Coach Ferriani for Canada is probably telling his guys, great last possession. Let's keep up the contact. Let's readjust and see the court, and we'll be able to get them off their spots and disrupt them. Patience on offense. Let the Argentinians come out, get them off the edge of the key, just like we did, and recognize a mismatch. David Eng in that last possession was mismatched against number 8, Villafane from Argentina. That's a matchup that favors Canada, and David Eng can take him to the basket.
You mentioned Matteo Ferriani, Canadian team coach, obviously with some international roots, and he knows a lot of these Argentinian players, doesn't he?
Yeah, he's coached a couple of them when he was a professional coach in Europe, and he saw them consistently in the last quadrennial when he was an assistant coach with the Brazilian team. So he saw them every year multiple times. He's very familiar with the Argentinians.
So we saw the defense there from Nick Gonchin as he gets set up with his teammates. Canada up by 2, early stages, opening quarter, 10-minute quarters in wheelchair basketball. Burden, Villafane, just won't fall for Argentina.
Good look for the Argentinians, and they got the edge of the key where they wanted and got Canada in a switch.
Bo Hedges, not quite this time. Canada really wants to establish as many scorers as they can, don't they, Mike?
Yeah, they've got a couple of players that will score almost no matter what in Pat Anderson and Nick Gonchin, David Eng as well when he rotates in. What Canada wants is a third or fourth scorer in any given lineup. So what just happened, Perez set a screen for Burden on the edge of the key. That's where the Argentinians want to run their offense. If they get the edge of the key, then Canada's going to have to jump and rotate. Somebody gets open for the Argentinians. If Canada can push that screen farther out and be physical, then it'll be more difficult to run that pick and roll.
Burden inbounding for Gabas. Burden, Villafane from the free throw line, and that one is good.
There we saw the jump by Canada. They got stuck in the jump, and the rotation didn't happen. That gave Villafane lots of time to shoot that basket.
Hedges running a pick for Gonchin. Now the ball over to Eng. Hedges, lots of movement on the Canadian side. Gonchin fading, firing, and it's short.
Canadians having a tough time getting the Argentinians off the edge of the key.
No doubt Canada would like to be in the lead comfortably before Patrick Anderson has to come into the game. Rebound Canada. Eng, 6-6. We're halfway through the opening quarter. David Eng, one of the co-captains for Canada. The Canadians lose the ball. Argentina back on offense. Gustavo Villafane. Gabas. Gonchin guarding. Now Hedges helping. And the shot missed by Gabas, or at least Massimiliano. Back comes Canada. Eng off the window and in.
So great read by David Eng. He read that he was guarded by Villafane. Rather than passing the ball off, took it at Villafane and got an open look.
Slim lead, Canada. Back comes Argentina. Gabas. Burden. Ruggieri. And it won't fall. Nick Gonchin. Ang wasn't quite expecting it. And substitution time. Canadians bringing into the lineup Vincent Dallaire, Chad Jasmine, and who's the third here?
Colin Higgins.
Higgins, the pride of New Brunswick.
Yep. He's one of those young up-and-coming players in the Canadian program that have really started to quickly rise up.
Ang gets a hand on it, but Argentina gets the ball back. Burden spins. Lots of time to work on the clock. And off the fingertips of Villafanier.
Yeah, so the Argentinians not quite where they wanted to be in their offensive set. You normally have Burden on the left side of the court and Villafanier up high. And they put them there because of their strengths and the way they handle, catch, and shoot the ball. So they're a little bit out of the spots that they wanted.
So Gonchin is out. Higgins is in along with Ang, the 4-point players for Canada. Ang puts it up. He's got 4 points so far for Canada. They've had 3 scorers so far. Ruggieri.
You can see the screens getting pushed out a little bit by Canada.
Villafanier, we've got a tie game. David Ang for Canada. Back to Jasmine. Ang. Higgins. Rattles around underneath. And it would not fall for Canada, but they're going to go to the line.
Yeah, Canada got a couple of rolls to the basket. One by Tyler Miller that we just saw, but earlier in the possession, Vincent Dallaire got a roll to the basket as the 2 Argentinians jumped. That's what we need to be patient to do. That's what the Canadians need to be patient to do. Give the Argentinians a chance to jump out, and then the Canadians will get to the basket.
Indeed, that was Tyler Miller, not Jasmine heading to the basket. Miller's going to get a chance now at the line. Gives Canada the lead again. And the Canadian team veteran from Kitchener, Ontario, Tyler Miller, gives Canada a 2-point lead. Ruggieri, Argentina. Burden led Argentina in scoring last year at the World Championships. Villafanier, yes.
Yeah, there's that rotation where the Canadian player's getting hooked up on Argentinian player Perez's screen, and he doesn't quite recover in time. It gives Villafanier that open look.
Higgins. Ang spins. Draws the foul. He'll go to the line.
So the Canadians are starting to pull the Argentinians off the edge of the key. That's giving them that pick and roll. That opens up gaps on the offside for either cuts or picks by the Canadians. So
First
2 places where they can get into the rim.
First foul for Burden. Mike, what are you seeing that's better for Canada this year than maybe what happened last year at World Championships?
Well, the biggest thing is probably that these younger players for Canada have just simply gotten better with age. They've had one more year of playing together and playing against the veteran players. And that's part of what makes them better. And when you get a chance to go against a Patrick Anderson day in, day out, you're going against one of the best players in the world, if not the best player in the world. You get better because of that.
1-point lead, Canada. Gabas, no. Rebound, Higgins. Canada off to the races. You mentioned Higgins, the improvement that you've seen over him in the last few years. Pretty significant, isn't it, Mike?
Yeah, he's really spent a lot of time really, really working at learning the game. Constantly asking questions, constantly getting better as a result of that.
Lots of passing for Canada. Eventually the shot from Miller doesn't go. Ruggieri. Filafania. And he just makes it look so easy with that smooth delivery.
Yeah, Villafane, just such a great, great shooter.
David Ang cutting to the lane and draws the foul.
So the Canadians a little bit inconsistent with their contact on defense. And they just need to use that time in the middle of the court when they're in defensive transition to get position, get their wheels, and readjust and push the Argentinians out. If they do that, then they won't get hooked up like they have a couple times in those rotations.
Ang, like clockwork, draws Canada back even. And the Canadians leading.
Yeah, great to have David Ang out there and put him out there with the young Canadian players as that stabilizing force. That person that they can count on, and then they can focus on growing their game.
Final seconds now of the quarter. A three-pointer, and Villafane hits. And a giveaway, a steal. Here's Argentina again. And before the buzzer, Argentina grabs a quick 4-point lead.
Yeah, a couple of careless possessions on the part of Canada. Canada knows they need to jump Villafane. They can't give him that opportunity, that open look. It does take him a second to gather the ball. On the other side, then not paying attention to that last possession and giving up the ball in the backcourt as a result. And that's something that happens sometimes when you have some young players. They'll have momentary lapses. Great players are consistent, possession in, possession out. They take care of the possession they're in. Sometimes young players have a tendency of thinking about the possession that was and not the possession that is.
It's almost like in golf, they say, what's the most important shot? The next one. The Government of Canada is proud to support Canada's wheelchair basketball athletes from playground to podium in their pursuit of sporting excellence. You can hear it. It is a wonderful atmosphere inside the Pan Am Sports Center. Team Canada, Team Argentina in this international feature match. These two teams, along with the Dutch team, involved all week in, well, it's a really important training time for all three teams to prepare for their important events.
Yeah, the Dutch team goes to their qualifier in a couple weeks as well. And the European zone is particularly difficult to qualify out of. I think they go as deep as 7, 8, even 9 teams that could qualify in one of the 4 spots that Europe has. And Argentina, obviously, they're looking to go back to a major, and this time the Paralympics. They just missed out in 2016 when the America Zone only had 2 spots. They ended up finishing 3rd, beating the Brazilians that got to go as the host team. Bittersweet victory to win the bronze at the Pan American Games, but not qualify. They want to change that this time round, and they want to get one of those 3 spots in the America Zone.
And I remember the tears that we even saw on the court at the Mattamy Athletic Center in that event. We are underway, second quarter action. Argentina with a 4-point lead, that late push in the quarter. Canada has Ben Moranchuk on the floor. And also looks like Lee Melimick, along with Hedges and Gonshin. And a nice little reach there by Moranchuk, but Argentina grabs it, the rebound, and puts it in. And that was Adrian Perez.
And it was one of those broken plays, Willie Marenchuk with a nice little block. But then Argentina getting that loose ball on the recovery. Nice control by Willie on the block and not taking the big swing.
Hedges with the no-look pass. Melimuck. And Canada is back heading forward here.
So that's one of the things that Lee Melimuck can bring to the Canadian team is that jumper at the top of the free throw line.
Burden, Villafanier, and it is Daniel Copa with his first bucket of the game.
Not a bad defensive possession by Canada. They would rather see the long two by Copa than that jumper at the free throw line or pick and roll on the ball side, Burden and Perez.
Gonchin, Moranchuk, just off the mark. Argentina lead is 6. Early stages, second quarter. Pat Anderson still on the bench for Canada. Daniel Copa. Perez fades and fires. Off the mark.
There we go. Now they're starting to push him just a little bit outside the comfort zone for the Argentinians. That's that physicality with their wheels that the Canadians need.
Moranchuk, no, and he's going to take a couple seconds here to pop back up, but he does. Bit of an advantage for Argentina if they can capitalize. Burden setting up. Gabas, at least Ruggieri. Eight-point lead now, Argentina. Gonchin. Hedges. Back it comes to Gonchin. That one's off the mark. Canada gets the rebound. Melimuck. Moranchuk. Gonchin. In it goes.
So Nick Gonchin with a nice little jumper. One of the things to look for is Nick Gonchin being patient at the three-point line because he's the type of shooter that can get the Argentinians off the edge of the key.
Canada looked like they'd stolen the ball, give it right back. Argentina scores and will go to the line.
So there are three key statistics that I'm always watching for in a game. I'm looking at a 2-point field goal percentage. I'm looking at turnovers and assists. Right now, Canada not quite taking care of the ball. Some of their passing, they've had a couple of costly turnovers in the backcourt, and then some of their passing in the front court has taken away shots. What I mean by that is the pass takes the shooter out of their shooting position.
Gonchin for three. Thought about it.
You can see the Argentinian player Burden jumping Nick Gonchin at the three-point line, recognizing him as a threat from up there.
Burden underneath. Perez. No. Gonchin with the rebound. Foul against Perez from Argentina. Non-shooting, of course.
So Canada doing a really good job trying to get picks in the backcourt on the Argentinian players. That's one way to get them off the edge of the key, is just to simply not let them get back to their spot in their defense.
Villafane out of the lineup for Argentina. In comes Valenzuela.
You can see the Argentinians right on the edge of the key. Got to get them to move out so there's bigger attack gaps.
Moranchuk, Hedges, Gonchin. Again, rattles out. Burden under pressure from Hedges. Selaz, Burden. Burden with a long two, short.
The Argentinians with a man advantage, and they weren't able to take advantage of it to get inside.
Bo Hedges, the pride of Wannawan, BC, in for Moranchuk. Hedges. Yes.
Nice job that time. So the Argentinians jump Willie Marenchuk, get off the edge of the key, and now the spaces to rotate in are a little bit bigger. That gives Canada offside time to score and take those jump shots or attack going to the rim.
Burden. Shot from Valenzuela misses. Canada looking for the fast break. Chad Jasmine, no. Back comes Argentina. Copa weaves his way into the key. Back out. Perez. Yes. 27-19. Argentina up by 8. We're just over halfway through the second quarter. Maranchuk for Canada. Now it's into the hands of Gonchin. He's under pressure. Still under pressure. Maranchuk off the window and in.
You can start to see the Argentinians coming out, having to cover more space, and they can't quite complete their rotation. For Canada, they've changed their rotation.
Burden. Across for Cheles. Copa rattles in and out, so Canada gets a stop.
So Canada now starting to rotate their help defender from the offside elbow and rotating from a lesser scoring threat. The Argentinians now have to recognize that and change how they attack.
Ball movement for Canada into the hands of Gonchin. That's short, gathered in by Adolfo Burden, the captain of Argentina. Burden slings it underneath. Now into the hands of Cheles. Off the mark. And another stop for Canada. A chance to get closer. They're 6 behind. Maranchuk. Hedges. Hook it.
Love the pause at the three-point line by Willie Marenchuk. He paused, made the Argentinian defender come almost all the way out to the three-point line. That opened up space on the offside.
And the arrow points towards Argentina, but that was a jump call. Good job by Canada. Put some pressure on Argentina. And substitutions into the game for Canada. Comes Patrick Anderson. And it looks like we've got a timeout call as well.
Yeah, the Argentinian coach calling a timeout, recognizing, I think, Patrick Anderson coming into the game. Probably wants to take a step back and remind his players how they're going to defend with Patrick Anderson out there and if they're making any adjustments.
People have been trying to figure that out for a long time, haven't they, Mike?
Without great success. Without great success. No, Patrick, you know, it's so interesting for young kids at home. And they're watching a player like Patrick Anderson, and they're wondering, man, he's such a great player. What does he do? I tell you what Patrick does. He comes in each and every day, and he works on the simple little things. He'll do some highlight reel things in the game today, but they all come back from how much time he spends doing simple things like working on ball handling, passing, catching, shooting.
I want to pay tribute to Toyota Canada, the proud mobility partner of Wheelchair Basketball Canada. Toyota, committed to mobility and movement for all through vehicles, sport experiences, and more. Toyota Canada. So 4-point game. Argentina will inbound the ball. Canada with Gonchin, Jasmine, Anderson, Dallaire, and Miller in. Argentina's Copa with the ball. Watched by Gonchin. Looking for some room.
You can see how far out the Canadians have pushed the Argentinians for a shot.
And that long reach of Dallaire gets Burden to take a bad shot. Back comes Canada. Chance to bring it to a 2-point game. Miller. Anderson, first shot, rattles out, rebound, and it's gathered in by Argentina. And across the timeline, Burden. And we've got an issue with the chair of the Argentinian player, so that will get settled.
One of the challenges, so we've got an equipment problem here. The Argentinians on their trip here had some equipment breakage. They've had a couple of chairs when they arrived had broken frames, and they had to get those to the welder. So I don't know if that's going to play a factor someplace in the game today where a player's using an unfamiliar chair, or they didn't get a chance to play in it yesterday because it was at the welder.
Yeah, Daniel Copa having some issues, so try to get that sorted out. And we are back underway, so Copa's going to stay off. Gabas in. Has the ball. Gabas. Short. Rebound Gonchin. Canada back on offense.
Chad Jasmine pushing Gabas one chair length outside the edge of the key, so that post-up wasn't quite as good.
And a little circus shot there from Anderson on the pass from Gonchin. Draws the foul.
So great job. You saw the Argentinians come off the edge of the key, and you see the offside space open up for Pat Anderson to get in on his cut. That's one of the things that we're going to see, is that space that gets created because of Gonchin's shooting ability or Anderson's shooting ability. And the offside attack will be really, really important for Canada to take advantage of. That gets them shots at the rim.
So Patrick Anderson gets a chance for his first point of the game. And indeed, he becomes the sixth player, Mike, for Team Canada to register at least a point. And they want as balanced of an offense as they can get. That one rattles out. Argentina's lead cut to 3. Back comes Danielle Copa on offense. Guarded by Anderson. Burden. Gonchin on him. Gonchin getting way up. Puts the shot up. Rattles out. Anderson the rebound.
Yeah, up-court pressure by Canada that time disrupted the Argentinians, and it took them a second to get their players in position, and they end up taking a rushed shot.
Anderson on the hunt for his first field goal of the game. Gathers in his own offensive rebound. For 3. And the miss, and it looked like Canada might get the ball back, but just out of the reach of Chad Jasmine.
Yeah, it's a good look by Nick Gonchin. He's a really good three-point shooter, and he'll get them to start dropping eventually.
Canada's 0 for 4 from three-point land so far. Copa. A left-hand shot, puts it up, rebounded Canada. Anderson with those dynamic chair skills. For 3, yes! We're tied.
Yeah, really nice spacing by the Canadians as they came up the court. You can see how spread out they are, and the Argentinians get caught. They're not comfortable with coming out and guarding in that space.
Burden, Copa, and Argentina grabs the lead back. Final seconds now of the half. Here's a chance. Dallaire puts it up. And it'll be a 2-point lead at the half for Argentina, but Canada coming on well in the late stages.
Really alert play by Adolfo Burden, recognizing shot clock or game clock. Stayed up court to contest the inbounds pass. Some of the younger players for Canada not clock aware and not aware they needed to post and get that ball in. So to start, you can see both teams are kind of feeling it out a little bit to get out of the gate. and they've been inconsistent in doing what they want to do. The Argentinians, a couple of times, have been able to stay in on defense, haven't had to go out. That's when they're strongest. When they go out, Canada gets space they need. The Argentinians get taken advantage of, and the Canadians can create a good scoring opportunity, usually off ball. When Canada's been physical on defense, gotten reels and readjusted with good contact, they've disrupted the Argentinian offense. When they haven't, the Argentinians have found the baskets that they wanted to, and we've seen particularly early on Villafane with some wide open looks when Canada was a little bit slow in rotating as they had to jump, giving up the edge of the key.
So Argentina takes the lead into the half. It's 29-27 for Team Argentina. Wheelchair Basketball Canada strongly believes in the power of sport to move people toward enhanced health, stronger communities, and improved quality of life. Funds raised are used to enable all Canadians to be active, be included, be empowered to pursue their own individual excellence. Through your support, more Canadians living with disability will experience the life-changing benefits of wheelchair basketball. Take a look now at Daniel's inspiring story of perseverance, spirit, and determination, and how wheelchair basketball changed his life.
The fact that I lost all my independence when I first broke my back and didn't believe that I'd be able to even live on my own or have a quality of life that's worth living, I gained that all back when I started playing basketball.
Yeah, I loved playing sports before my injury. I was really active.
My Danny, he was a very fine young little boy, very happy, very active. When he was young, he loved to play soccer, but also he loved to run. And he was running and never stopped running.
The entire balcony ended up collapsing forwards. Like the railings just like went off their bolts or whatever, and like the entire railing just came down with me falling as well. So I ended up falling 3 stories and sustaining a spinal cord injury at the T10, T11, and also ended up breaking my neck at C7, T1. But physically, it was just so new. It was for anyone that like I would talk to, I would explain it like being rebirthed and trying to learn how to live life all over again, because every single thing you think you can do and like the confidence you had in doing something, you completely lose because you've lost your independence.
The doctor there told us he will never be able to walk again, and it was very hard. I think we were in that denial when you don't want to accept, you don't want to agree with what they are telling you.
It kind of came out that he might not ever walk again, and in my mind I was uneducated on paralysis and spinal cord injuries, so I was thinking like, oh yeah, he'll probably be fine. A couple months later it kind of set in, like not just for me but for everyone around the whole school, that it was like he's in a wheelchair now and that's how he's gonna have to live his life. And that's kind of when it hit me, like where I got sad for him, and it was tough.
Basically just at that point, trying to focus all my attention on like my faith and my family, and try to just like overlook the whole disability thing. I want to do that, like this looks sick. And after that day, I just, fell in love with it. My grassroots program was like the catalyst of it all. It was the most important thing in my opinion, because without it, I wouldn't have known the fun that wheelchair basketball is.
I wanted him to be active. I wanted him to go out from the house. I wanted him to find something to like, something to make him wake up in the morning and say, okay, I'm not just someone laying in a bed, right?
I took the leap because I was sick of like being bored at home, and I wanted to get competitive again. Like I have that nature in me. I'm a very passionate person. I want to challenge my body, challenge myself, and be successful in athletics. So I ended up getting into wheelchair basketball, and when I saw how competitive it was and how aggressive people are and how they don't even care what disability you are, no matter like what function you have, you're getting it. Like you're getting hit, you're getting contact, you get that camaraderie and that like acceptance. And when you start feeling that, it fuels the fire inside you, and you're like, yeah, like this is what it's about.
I remember Dina, Dan's mom, and Dan showed up at the hospital unit I was in. It was one of the moments where it was solidified in my mind that, you know what, like, life is going to be different now, but I think I'm going to be all right.
I think people who are not getting involved in this, they don't know what they are missing.
For my recovery, wheelchair basketball played like essentially the biggest, if not the second biggest role in my ability to just overcome the disability that I sustained, my injury, because it gave me a new purpose. Before that, I suffered a lot of depression and like didn't have a real desire or motivation to really get up in the morning. When I found wheelchair basketball and saw how much of a tool it could be at not only making me a stronger athlete, but like a stronger character and individual in day-to-day life. This is a great tool not only to like build on all of that, but to help my future, and it has, especially with having the opportunity to be like in a national program, potentially get a scholarship in the future and be able to go to a post-secondary school. All these opportunities made me so much more independent and more confident, even though like all of that was stripped from me when I first had my injury. Like I attribute a lot of who I am now and the great confidence that I have to wheelchair basketball.
Words cannot describe how happy I am because I see him happy. Danny has a big place in my heart, and I love him so much. And I'm so proud of him.
To go from the day when you first sat up in the hospital in the intensive care unit and like just trying to hold your puke in and not like throw up from just sitting upright for the first time after your injury, to being able to get someone to be like awestruck by the achievements that you've accomplished through a sport, that's like light years away from what I ever imagined my life would be when I first got up that day in the hospital. So I'm super honored and I feel privileged to be a part of it.
And to support incredible athletes like Daniel who are pursuing their Paralympic dreams, visit wheelchairbasketball.ca/donate. And you can donate today. Back at the Pan Am Sports Center in Toronto at halftime, Team Canada down by 2 points. It's 29-27 for Argentina. Canadian men's and women's wheelchair basketball teams are gearing up for the 2019 Para-Pan American Games in Lima, Peru, August 24th to the 31st. The Canadian men need to place in the top 3 at that tournament. The Canadian women must finish in the top 2 in order to grab a spot at the Tokyo 2020 Paralympic Games. Be sure to follow Team Canada's journey on the road to Tokyo 2020 at wheelchairbasketball.ca and on social media, on Facebook, on Twitter, and on Instagram.
Definitely Vince and Higgins. I think they got a pretty big bromance, and then all those 1-5s, so like Vince, Jazzy, and Tyler, they kind of got their own thing going on there.
I'd have to say Tyler and Colin.
I would say Colin and Tyler. They have this little love-hate relationship that they're always doing to each other, and I'm not sure what's going on there.
No, Colin and Vince got a pretty tight bromance.
Vince and Colin.
Colin and Vince.
I mean, whoever said that is probably right. I guess we live together, so it's kind of something, I don't know, maybe.
You got to keep the littles happy. You know, they're doing all the picking and stealing for you, so whatever keeps them happy.
Pat and Dang are definitely an old bromance.
Dave and I are developing, it's a long-term relationship. We're definitely in a long-term relationship at this point.
Colin and Bo.
I would say Bo and Colin. I think they like each other quite a lot. It's cute out there.
Patrick Anderson can juggle the best.
Pat's the only one I know of that can juggle really at all. So I would say Pat. We always joke when he's sitting there juggling that he should try with chainsaws.
Patrick.
Probably Pat.
Pat Anderson can definitely juggle the best.
I don't know if I've actually seen anybody else on the team successfully juggle, so I'll go with Pat.
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 From what I've seen, I haven't seen any competition yet.
funniest person on the team is Chad Jasmine for sure. He always makes us laugh.
Chad Jasmine, he's hilarious. He's just a blast to have around on the court, both on and off the court. He's a great guy to have around.
I think Chad's definitely the funniest.
Probably say Jazzy. He just cracks jokes all the time. Never, always the witty one.
Oh, by far Jazzy, not even close.
The funniest person on the team might be Jazzy.
Chad, Jazzy, for sure.
Oh, the funniest person on the team is myself, for sure.
That's probably a toss-up between Joe V and Jazzy.
The easy answer is Jazzy, but sleeper would be Jill Vermette. And I'm not sure that he's always trying to be funny, but he's pretty funny.
I'm gonna go with Joe Vermette.
Talks funny. He says funny things too. He's legitimately funny, and I think he knows it. I think.
Apparently, I'm one of those guys. I don't know why, but
Garrett's feet look like Hobbit feet.
Tyler Miller gets somebody to pump his tires up before every practice game to a certain level.
Vinny actually is rooming with Colin and Dion, but it's a weird setup because he's living in the living room, but inside a tent.
He's living literally in the living room in his own tent. He has his cot and a bunch of other stuff set up.
I do live in a tent. It was better to having a tent than just a mattress in the middle of the living room. So it's Tyler's idea.
What Canada doesn't know right now is that Vince is living kind of in a tent right now, and Higgins' room.
Colin's room is really, really messy.
Nick, lots of people don't know that he's a Saskatchewan guy as well, and his family owns it's like basically a farm almost, acreage out in Saskatchewan, so kind of backwoods. So not a lot of people know that about him. He's kind of embraced this whole Toronto lifestyle, but no, he's a Saskatchewan boy.
Patrick Anderson is in a band with his wife, and they travel across Canada. So in his off time, he is often playing shows at clubs and stuff.
David Ing's actually left-handed.
Back inside the Pan Am Sports Center in Toronto, Rob Snook alongside Mike Frogley. Excited to bring you second half action coming up. Team Canada, Team Argentina, along with our crew from Sports Canada TV. And Mike, think back about that opening half. Argentina opened up a nice lead. Canada came back strong when this guy came into the game, Patrick Anderson, and then a 2-point lead for Argentina. Your thoughts?
So I think that going back to the keys of the game, I think that Canada made and controlled contact in some possessions, but not all of them. They need to be more consistent with that. They made an adjustment, or they started rotating from the offside elbow as well. That was a nice adjustment that the Argentinians have to recognize. Second thing, maintaining matchups and those quick switches. And then on offense, so important that we get the Argentinians and the Canadians get the Argentinians off the edge of the key in their offensive attack. That'll open up attacks on ball and, more importantly, off ball. You can see Patrick Anderson getting in off ball because the Argentinians had to give us that space. But the Canadians were inconsistent in creating that space. So that's something to look for in the second half. See more consistent contact with the wheels by Canada, switching from the offside elbow. On offense, more consistent space, and I'm going to be looking to see if they pause at the three-point line to really make the Argentinians come out, to really get the space that they want.
Again, a 2-point game, leading the way offensively for Argentina. Gustavo Villafane has 11 points to lead all scorers. Canada out-rebounding Argentina in the game. I think that'll become an important factor down the stretch here.
Well, that'll be a good indicator that Canada is pushing the Argentinians outside of their comfort zone in their offense and disrupting their offense, because the quality of the shots will decrease and we'll see more missed shots as a result. And so that's a good indicator of how they're making contact with their wheels.
All right, here we go. Second half action. Nick Gonchin, Bo Hedges, Vincent Dallaire, Jonathan Vermette and Pat Anderson in the lineup for Canada. Pat Anderson sneaking over to get a little listen in on the huddle.
Yeah, I've sat with Pat, and his Spanish isn't as strong as his French. And so I don't know how much he got out of that conversation with the Argentinians.
He just wants them to know he's around. Jonathan Vermette, you see him there on screen. Plays an important role, one of the one-point players. Again, remind us, Mike, for those maybe who are watching wheelchair basketball, the different points and how they work and how important as we see Patrick Anderson hit the first basket of the second half.
Well, and that's what's going to happen. They're going to pause at the three-point line, and if the Argentinians don't come out, in players like Nick Gonchin and Pat Anderson, Canada will take advantage of that with a three.
And now Argentina's first attempt of the second half. That rattles out.
And right off the bat, Canada coming out, putting wheels on wheels, pushing the Argentinians almost out to the three-point line.
And an advantage now for Canada, and they take advantage. Nick Gonchin hits for three.
Great adjustment and discipline by the Canadians. First two possessions, first Anderson, then Gonchin. They pause at the three-point line. The Argentinians slow to get out there. They'll take that three. The Argentinians are going to answer now. They got to get out there. Let's watch and see if Canada can get shots going to the rim now to complement that space that's being created.
All of a sudden, a 2-point deficit is turned into a 4-point lead for Canada. Argentina on offense. Copa swings, now goes to Burden. Under pressure from Anderson. Now a nice hand in there from Vermette, but a steal back by Argentina. And cannot convert Daniel Copa. Gonchin. Underneath, Anderson. It just had a force field above the rim. 4-point lead, Canada. Burden.
You can see how far Canada is pushing the Argentinians.
Overiero hits his first bucket of the game. Fernando Overiero. Bo Hedges for Canada. Now Anderson fades, hits.
Pat Anderson doing a great job just pulling his chair back just a little bit. There's a little bit of space there. The Argentinian can't bump him on the shot, so it's an open look.
Copa again, Argentina. Burden. Under pressure from the Canadians. Anderson super aggressive on defense. The shot up, the miss from Overiero. Back comes Canada.
I really like the physicality that Canada is presenting with their wheels on defense to open this second half.
Hedges got the rebound, but couldn't convert. Back comes Argentina. Juan Ignacio Chalaz. Jump call this time. We'll go to Argentina.
Yeah, 16 for Argentina in a tough spot with Gonchin and Anderson on the double team. I think he'll have nightmares about that tonight.
Valenzuela. Copa. Burden rolls off his fingertips. Canada's going to get the ball back, already leading by 4.
Yeah, that all starts with Bo Hedges coming up and putting pressure on that passer. So the pass is just a little bit farther out of where they wanted to make it.
Gonchin weaves into the top of the lane. Underneath for Anderson. Banks it in.
And there's that space offside that gets that offside person to the rim. Great patience by Nick Gonchin letting that develop.
6-point lead, Canada. Burden from the foul line. Overiero trying to reach over Hedges. And we've got an equipment issue again with Copa. You mentioned that maybe about the chairs and borrowed chairs possibly and borrowed equipment.
Well, what they might have is they might be in their second chair. A lot of these players will have 2 chairs. They'll have their primary game chair, but a secondary chair ready to go in case their game chair breaks. And it's a frame issue and not just a wheel that breaks.
It must make for a logistical bit of a nightmare when you're traveling sometimes, Mike.
Oh, all kinds of problems having to get, not just 12 basketball chairs, but maybe, upwards of 20 basketball chairs.
And Burden, who has been fairly quiet on offense, gets Argentina moving again. They're down by 4.
You can see the Argentinians trying to stay on the edge of the key. Adolfo Burden, their help defender, in the middle. The farther he has to rotate, the more open Canada will get going to the rim, and that's a great example of that. Adolfo Burden having to jump. Nick Gonchin, that gave the lane to the basket for the Canadians.
And watch what Dallaire does when we get a chance. We'll get a look at that replay, but a great conversion. Seemed to touch the hands of 3 or 4 different players. And now Joel Gabas, and that won't fall.
So now we're seeing the Canadians. Possession in, possession in, possession in. They're making contact with their wheels.
That time, Dallaire off the mark. Chelas. Burden looking for a mismatch. Canadians put extra pressure on him. Overiero. No. Air ball.
That's the shot the Canadians want to make Argentina take. Those long twos. You can see how far out the Canadians were able to push the Argentinians.
So Argentina responding with some substitutions. Into the game, Joel Gabas.
So one of the things about these substitutions, I know Coach Veriani for Canada, he's going to be monitoring his subs. One thing he wants to do, he wants to get all of his young players in to get them valuable minutes to grow from this experience and become better themselves, and then be better able to push the veterans in practice. The other thing that he's also monitoring, he's monitoring the load of some of the veteran players. So an example of that, Patrick Anderson. Everybody's heard about Kawhi and the Raptors and load management. Patrick's an older player as well. For him to be at his best at the end of the game, they'll play him less at the beginning of the game and monitor his load throughout, as well as throughout this entire season leading up to Lima.
Team Canada, Team Argentina battling here at the Pan Am Sports Center. Sunrise Medical is a proud partner of Wheelchair Basketball Canada, world leader in the development, design, manufacturing, and marketing of manual wheelchairs, power wheelchairs, and both standard and customized seating and positioning systems. Sunrise Medical, proud to help the many Canadians who are living without limits.
So right off the bat, Canada coming out here, and one of the things to watch is, again, getting the Argentinians off the edge of the key. And then I'm watching number 14, Adolfo Burden from Argentina, to see how far he has to push to help.
Canada's lead already 6 with possession. Jasmine, Ang. David Ang back in the game. Cuts under, banks it home. Not always easy to come off the bench and right away be counted on to up for offense.
Great pick by Tyler Miller to free up David Ang.
And a three-pointer is good from Maximiliano Ruggeri.
Yeah, Ruggeri, a solid shooter from outside that Canada has to identify as subs come in and out.
Patrick Anderson looking to respond. It rattles out. Joel Gabas, now Ruggeri. Burden heading towards the baseline, slings it back. Gabas. Foul call here.
So a couple things for young players out there. If you're watching Patrick Anderson, you're a young player, and you want to know what to do to be great, watch how much Patrick moves his head to see the whole court. He's probably the best in the world, or one of the very best in the world at seeing the court.
That last Canadian foul on Vincent Dallaire. Argentina inbounds. Ruggeri. Burden. Ruggieri. Gabas. Foul against Canada. I think that's on Tyler Miller. Canadian lead is 5. Argentina with a 14-second shot clock.
You can see Patrick Anderson sagging into the key as the help defender for Canada. So the help coming from the offside elbow now, not the point.
Canadians get hands on ball and then draw the foul.
So what the Argentinians now have to recognize, if that's where the help defense is rotating from that elbow, they need to pass the ball and attack from that offside.
Into the game for Argentina. First time, Mateus Mendez. And out goes Fernando Ovariero. 5-point lead, Canada. Ball into the hands of Patrick Anderson from Fergus, Ontario. Anderson with the 3. Yes!
You can see Adolfo Burden having to come up from his help position. Tyler Miller coming to pick him. Adolfo collapsing instead of staying out on Patrick.
Ruggieri looking to respond. No. He had a wide open look. Miller now putting the ball on the floor for Canada. Twisting and weaving. Pushes for Eng. Anderson under pressure, trying to get a shot up. Under all kinds of heat, he does get one up, but
Patrick Anderson getting in offside there as the Argentinian defense rotated out on the ball side.
Canada's going to get the ball back here. The shot was judged to have been tipped after Anderson released. Well, he had all kinds of pressure there. On the baseline, Anderson, no. Rebound, Dallaire. Anderson underneath, short. And first touch of the ball for Mendez. Dishes for Ruggieri. Burden directing traffic. Ruggieri. Burden. Gabas. Rattles out. Miller got a hand on it. So did Mendez. It's Argentina ball, say the officials. So Canada was down by as many as 6 points in the first half, now leading by 8, 2:55 to go in the third quarter. Both teams gearing up for the Para-Pan American Games in Lima at the end of the summer. Huge test to try to prepare for that as the teams try to qualify for Tokyo, and Joel Gabas hits for Argentina. Anderson, no-look pass for Miller. He's got all kinds of time if he wants to put up a shot, and he does. And it rattles out. But now Anderson, back to Eng. Yes.
David Eng, nice and steady there. He's got the mismatch. He knows he's got time to take the shot. He doesn't rush himself, takes the time that he's been given.
That brings up a point that you said to me before the game, Mike. You said Canada is not typically a patient team. Are you liking their patience?
I am. And we saw that to open the half. You saw that pause at the three-point line. See that David Eng taking that second to get that extra little pump in his shot and then take the shot.
So a little load management now maybe for Canada. Patrick Anderson heads to the bench. Dallaire to the bench. Jasmine to the bench. Into the game for Canada is Blaise Mutware, wearing number 21 for the first time. Dion Green is in, wearing number 8. His first action of the game.
Yeah, great opportunity for some more of these young players to get on the court. Blaise Mutware, Dion Green, and obviously Joe Vermette, alongside veterans like Tyler Miller and David Eng.
Eng with the ball now. Weaves towards the baseline. Slings it across. Green, first shot of the game, and it's good.
Great job creating space. And again, there's that offside attack for the wide open look.
Patrick Anderson on the bench. Mike, he already has 14 points. He came in the second quarter. And foul against David Eng.
Yeah, a little bit of space that time in the possession as the Argentinians came up to the Canadians on defense. The Canadians didn't quite stop them and get the contact they wanted.
Yeah, the little discrepancy as to who took that foul. We thought it was on Eng. He put his hand up, but the officials seem to have called it on Tyler Miller. Canadian lead is 10. Just over a minute to go, third quarter. Wide open look here for Ruggieri, and he'll hit from there from time to time.
And there's that big rotation. The Canadian defender rotated from the point instead of the elbow, and that gave Ruggieri the wide open look.
Eng, Green, looking for the bank shot, doesn't go. Here goes Burden, he's alone for the layup. And the roller doesn't go off the glass.
Yeah, uncharacteristic miss for Burden on a wide open layup.
Hard pass from Eng, finds Green, looking for Mutware, can't connect. Ruggieri peels away. 8-point lead, Canada. Inside of 10 seconds on the shot clock. 5 more on the game clock here in the third quarter. Underneath for Mendez, and it doesn't work. Final seconds now. Green for Canada. And the last second shot from the Canadians, Vermette, doesn't work.
So a better job handling the ball in that final possession than we've seen in a couple of these possessions with the Canadians where they didn't turn it over at the end of the quarter. So that's better awareness by the Canadians. Canada came out a little bit more physical, pushed the Argentinians off the edge of the key, readjusted, and brought their help from the other elbow instead of the point. That affected the Argentinians. The other end paused and created space. Got wide open looks at the three-point line and then looks off ball.
Well, if you think wheelchair basketball looks like fun and want to try it out for yourself, take a look at this. You're looking to try out wheelchair basketball for yourself? Hoop Fest, presented by Toyota Canada. Wheelchair Basketball Canada's signature fundraising event, the half-day corporate challenge builds team spirit by providing individuals the opportunity to participate in fun and completely inclusive wheelchair basketball tournament. This year's Hoop Fest is on November the 6th. Visit wheelchairbasketball.ca to find out more and register a team. It's a big fourth quarter coming up. Argentina down by 8 against Canada. And if you're the coach of Team Argentina, Perez Amado, Mike, what are you saying?
One of the things they've got to get the edge of the key, so they're going to have to be a bit more patient to fight and work their players in, and then they've got to recognize where the Canadian help defender is rotating from and be prepared to attack at the offside elbow with or without the ball. That's probably the biggest adjustment as they look at the offensive side.
Hedges' first shot of the quarter.
On the defensive side, they're going to have to figure out how they're going to defend Pat Anderson at the three-point line and not give up offside attacks as that space gets created.
Melimek, Anderson, guarded by Gabas. Jasmine Melimek, short. So good defensive stand there by Argentina.
Yeah, great ball move by Canada, and they're getting some space for the different athletes.
Eng comes in, swats the ball away. Argentina will retain possession. Nicholas Valenzuela to inbound for Villafane. We haven't seen him in the second half until now. Burden, weaving, dropping. Villafane, no. Canadian lead still 8. Anderson trying to shake off Burden. Now Eng. Anderson trying to spring Hedges if he can. He gets it to him. Gives for Eng. And the shot clock's going to run out here on Canada.
Yeah, Canada's starting to extend those Argentinians. You saw that pause at the three-point line by Patrick Anderson. Great pick by David Eng. The ball just needs to move a little bit faster.
Argentina, timeout call, down by 8. What was some pressure on Canada here, early stages of the fourth quarter.
So those last 2 defensive possessions for Canada, they rotated their help defender from the point again. The Argentinians have to recognize that. Patrick Anderson is on the offside elbow when that defender rotates. He's guarding 2 guys at one time. The Argentinians are going to have to decide how they're going to attack when Patrick Anderson's guarding those 2 guys. Key will be how quickly Canada can rotate and they don't get stuck with 3 guys guarding the ball.
Of course, this is an important part of the Canadian men's and women's wheelchair basketball team's process as they gear up for the 2019 Para-Pan American Games in Lima, August 24th to the 31st. The Canadian men need to place in the top 3, the Canadian women in the top 2 in order to secure berths to Tokyo 2020 Paralympic Games. Be sure to follow Team Canada's journey on the road to Tokyo 2020 at wheelchairbasketball.ca on social media, Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook. Eight-point lead, Canada. Argentina with their top scorer back into the game, Gustavo Villafane.
You can see the Argentinians, Gabas and Burden, trying to work to get the edge of the key, so they've got a good spot to initiate their offense.
Sure if we have an equipment issue here or what we have, but we're ready to go. Villafane inbounds for Copa. Takes it towards the left corner. Villafane, Burden, regroups, has time, puts it up. It will not drop for the Argentinian captain. Eng for Canada, one of the co-captains, takes it to the baseline, stops under pressure, and does a nice job of recovering to knock it off of Copa and keep Canada with possession.
Yeah, offside of David Eng that time. Pat Anderson had space and was cutting on Villafane. Got to keep our head up and see offside.
Canadians want that shot from Melimek if they can get it.
Yeah, Lee Melimek, one of the young promising players on the Canadian squad. He's got lots and lots of athletic ability, and he's a really smart player. He's a real student of the game, and really studies it, and is growing a lot as a player because of that.
Burden just coming up blanks here. Still an 8-point lead, Canada. Anderson the ball.
There's that pause at the 3-point line. Create that space, make the Argentinians come out.
Anderson leading Canada with 14 points. Underneath for Ang. Falling, firing, and no foul on the play. It's a jump, and the possession arrow favors Argentina.
So that time, Patrick Anderson paused at the 3-point line. The Argentinian extended. That's what the Canadians want. And then Bo Hedges set that pick. Out of that, it's reading where the gaps are for the Canadians to attack off ball. And that could be a Bo Hedges roll or a David Ang cut or a pick to get him in offside.
Argentina, this reigning South American champions, beat Brazil last fall and might have a big match coming up against them in Lima, as well as the Canadians and the Americans. And this is going to again be an Argentina ball. So
with Villafane out there for the Argentinians, and he's up high on the point, Canada recognizing they've got to change where their help's rotating from. So nice communication from Canada, and the Argentinians not sure where the help was rotating from that time.
By the way, Canada, Argentina will both be in Group A at the Pan American Games in Lima, along with Colombia and Mexico. Group B will have the U.S., Peru, Brazil, and Puerto Rico. Again, August 24th to 31st, a huge time in wheelchair basketball for Canada, for Argentina, and for all of the Pan American teams. And again, Argentina's offense comes up empty. Here comes Patrick Anderson, and he is fouled. He'll go to the line, and we'll get a chance to change the score here finally. Both teams really tough on defense, Mike.
Yeah, the Canadians in that last defensive possession, again, now they're starting to really recognize where the threats are on the Argentinians, and they're changing where their defense is rotating from. The Argentinians having a tough time reading where to attack as a result. And then in the open court, if you give a person like Pat Anderson space to maneuver in the open court, he's going to be able to capitalize on that. So any open court attack is a great to a great advantage of the Canadians.
Anderson, both good. 50-40, a 10-point lead, Canada. 3 minutes into the fourth quarter. Burden. Copa. Going to weave his way in. The pass for Villafane.
Again, great possession by the Canadians. They didn't rotate off Burden on the point. They stayed there. They rotated from the offside elbow.
Anderson twisting, weaving. Slings for Ang. Thinks about the three. Now across for Hedges. He's got time. Rebound. Anderson. Short. Anderson again. Swept away and gathered in by Argentina. Copa takes to the baseline. Underneath. Spins. Fires. And a great basket for Daniel Copa.
Yeah, I wasn't quite sure if Copa actually had control of his chair as he was going through there, and he just was able to kind of gather himself. So I think he ended up in the right spot after that spin move, not necessarily where he was trying to get to.
Canada back on offense. The ball in the hands now of Hedges. Anderson. Under pressure, finds Ang. He's got 3 seconds. The ball misses everything.
Yeah, that time the Argentinians not really having to get off the edge of the key. They stayed bunched up. All that contact that made it tough for Canada to move. Canada, again, needing to go back, pause at the three-point line, have the discipline there to make the Argentinians come out. They've proven they'll come out on a shooter like Patrick Anderson.
Matteo Ferriani and the Canadian team, and let's look back.
And you can can see that congestion by the Argentinians. And at the other end, when Canada's physical and they can push the Argentinians off the edge of the key, they're successful.
And that little play by Copa.
Yeah. I think he spun around, all of a sudden looked up and said, oh, the rim's still there. I can shoot.
Here I am.
That's right.
There it is. So the school kids in attendance are getting a great show of international wheelchair basketball. Canada leading by 8 points, coming from behind in the second quarter. Now with 5:24 to go in the fourth, Canadian team up. Argentina with the ball. My name is Rob Snook, working alongside Mike Frogley. Mike, and this building that we're in is your home to work in. You're here all the time, a really important part of Canada's wheelchair basketball program.
Yeah, it's so important. It gives the players from Canada an opportunity to come and train on a regular basis with the national team coaching staff, the integrated support team, and with each other. And that's really helped move a lot of these young players up to this level very, very quickly, and really sets the stage for long-term sustainability and success in the Canadian wheelchair basketball program.
Nick Gonchin back into the game for Canada. So is Chad Jasmine, along with Vermette, Anderson, and Hedges. Joel Gabas for Argentina. Burden.
You can see Patrick Anderson rotate over right away. And Argentina a little bit slow to recognize that and swing the ball. And it's a contested pass that goes out of bounds.
Argentina looking to make some substitutions here, but not quite yet.
Now watch Patrick Anderson. See him out at the three-point line. That's that pause we talk about. Space, Argentina slow to get out. He can take advantage of it.
Pause, and then swoosh for Patrick Anderson from three-point land.
Yeah, offense starts with space.
Gabas, Burden. He's thinking three, but he finds Villafane. Nicely rebounded, Gabas, and off the window and in for Argentina.
Yeah, great defensive possession by Canada. And then Bo Hedges just turned his back for a second and gave Gabas the space he needed to cut to the rim for the offensive rebound. That's where he just needs to back up and make contact so that Gabas can't cut on the shot for that offensive rebound.
Argentina had an equipment issue, and instead of trying to fix that on the floor, they'll make a substitution or two. Into the game comes Ruggeri.
So if you take a look at the Argentinians as Canada comes down, they're on the edge of the key. Look where Patrick Anderson is, out at the three-point line. The Argentinians got to come out. And there's the ball swing.
Gets his own rebound. Nicely done for Nick Gonchin. Canadian lead 11 now, with just over 3.5 minutes left. Huge couple of possessions here for Argentina. They don't want to come up empty-handed. Gabas. Burden. No look for Villafane. And he doesn't have the same touch that he had in the opening half.
Villafane is getting pushed off his spot, and he's having to shoot rolling in a different direction than he's normally used to.
Finally, Argentina's offense gets a bucket. Canada slowing things down into the hands now of Anderson. Gonchin, 3 on the shot clock, 2, puts it up. Short, gets his own rebound again. Jasmine, Anderson. Gonchin with time. Short, but he gets the rebound again. Anderson underneath. Anderson again bats it to Hedges. Canada gets another 14 on the clock.
So Nick Gonchin with that offensive rebound there. Unselfishly passes it to Patrick Anderson, but Patrick guarded by 2 players. Nick Gonchin, take the short jumper. And the thing is, I've seen Nick a lot over the years. I've had a chance to coach him. Nick's got a great left-hand jumper as well, so he could have put that up right away with his non-dominant hand.
It's a confidence thing for players, isn't it? To do it, then to know they can do it, believe it, and then do it in the clutch situations.
So you can see the Canadians as they start their inbounds with Joe Vermette and Nick Gonchin out at the three-point line. There's that pause as they try to create space.
Anderson with the no-look to Gonchin. He gets it to drop. And one.
So that all starts with the inbounds play where Canada gets space. That gave Nick Gonchin a chance to attack offside and be in position for that scoring opportunity when it presented itself.
So Nick Gonchin, the pride of Regina, Saskatchewan. Student at UOIT these days, if I'm not mistaken, or at least he has been up until recently.
Yep, and he just got married actually in January.
Heard about that too. Exciting times in the Gonchin family. Burden from three-point land.
A tough shot by Adolfo, trying to look at where he might be able to create something. Kind of spinning a little bit at the three-point line.
Inside of 2 minutes to play, the Canadian lead is 9. Hedges looking, finds Anderson. Tries to spin away from Ruggieri. Puts the shot up over top of the backboard, and it almost worked. But here goes Ruggieri on a break. And back there, defensively, was Vermette. And Argentina comes up empty, but they're going to get a foul out of the deal.
Great decision by Joe Vermette, rotating to Ruggieri in the open court, leaving Villafane to catch the ball, knowing that the time it's going to take for him to gather that. In that time, Nick Gonchin's going to have recovered.
So Argentina to the line, trying to cut away at this Canadian lead without the clock running. You mentioned how important that is, Mike.
Dead ball points, so important for teams to be able to score and not use time off the clock here. And so you don't want to give up these dead ball points in these closing minutes.
And they get the rebound. Adrian Perez, Burden. This time it rattles out, but they get the rebound again. Ruggieri. Canadian lead 8. Argentina on the attack. Gabas. Villafane. Burden puts it up. And it is off the mark.
So that's a great lesson for young kids watching out there and why passing's so important. The pass to Villafane was a little bit off. He bobbled the ball a couple of times. That took a couple of seconds. So by the time Anthony Burden got the ball, it resulted in a shot clock violation and a rushed shot. Here you can see that reverse layup off of that cutoff side. Canada got to keep chairs on chairs. And there we see the space that opened up because they created, they pulled the Argentinians off the edge of the key. Nick Gonchin with the open shot. Adolfo Burden, tough shot from the three-point line.
And then just to put the icing on the cake, he does the old backwards wheel roll. I like that. Little flash.
So both coaches right now are going into their end game. They're reminding each their team, the players on the court, how many fouls they've got to give, who's in foul trouble, and how they want to play out the possessions. And then lastly, at the end of the day, the end of the game is about execution, taking care of the ball and paying attention to the details, not getting distracted by all the stuff going on at the end of the game, staying focused on a possession you're in.
And so Canada puts the ball into the hands of Patrick Anderson, the veteran, the soon-to-be 5-time Paralympian. Anderson, Gonchin. Underneath, Vermette misses. Hedges tries. Nicely done off of Argentina.
Still great space, and you saw that all started with Gonchin out at the three-point line, and the Argentinians having to jump him.
So we're down to 44 seconds. Burden puts it up, puts it in. The lead is cut to 5.
Canada's got to identify who the three-point shooters are. Tyler Miller out on Villafane, nobody out on Adolfo Burden.
Anderson has to get past the timeline in 8 seconds, no problem. And he is fouled.
So Anderson with his head up the whole time, reading the court, also knowing that as one of the better free throw shooters in Canada, he's going to keep that ball in his hands, and he's going to make the Argentinians foul him and eventually put him on the line.
Argentina not in the bonus, so Canada will inbound. Hedges, Anderson, Gonchin, Anderson. 23, 22, 5 on the shot clock. Underneath, Hedges, left hand, off the window and in.
Great spacing by Gonchin and Anderson up high. Bo Hedges reading that and getting to the basket.
Inside of 15 seconds left. Underneath, Gabas shakes off Anderson, puts it in, cuts the lead to 5 again. And Argentina's going to try to foul here, but Canada smartly gets it ahead to Vermette. Dishes to Gonchin. That's going to do it. Team Canada comes from behind to beat Argentina 60-55. And the kids, the crowd loves it here at the Pan Am Sports Center in Toronto.
So Canada, as they came out in the second half, much more consistent, creating the space that they wanted. We saw them pause at the three-point line. Much more consistent in making contact with their wheels so they could control that contact, and then identifying where they needed to change their switch. The Argentinians a little bit slow to get out on some of those three-point shooters for Canada, and when they did, giving up offside attacks and Canada getting to the rim, and then not quite adjusting to where the defenders rotated from Canada for Canada, and identifying where they needed to change their attack. And the result, Canada shifting things and coming back from trailing to lead. So some nice steps for Canada in some of the things that they want to grow in as they prepare for Lima. They played deep, and they got a chance to improve in what they wanted to do as the game went on. We'll look to see that as the week goes on. Argentina opening up, getting a chance to get the rust off, see where they are compared to last year's 5th place finish at the World Championships.
So Patrick Anderson led Canada with 15 points. Nick Gonchin had a dozen. Canadians out-rebound Argentina and pull off the win. 60-55 for Team Canada here in this international match in the lead-up to the Pan American Games in Peru. Toyota Canada is the proud mobility partner of Wheelchair Basketball Canada. Toyota's partnership with Wheelchair Basketball Canada represents their commitment to mobility and movement for all through vehicles, sport experiences, and more.
This is the all-new Corolla, and these are the people who drive it. They do things. Big things. Small things. Brings people like this to places like this. It's for people who know that how far you go depends on how far you're willing to take it. Life's waiting. Get to it in the all-new Toyota Corolla and Corolla Hybrid. Together, so much more.
Toyota Canada continues its proud support of Canadian athletes, and Wheelchair Basketball Canada, the proud mobility partner, in fact, of Wheelchair Basketball Canada. And we see the Canadian team in the post-game certainly enjoyed the vibe, the atmosphere, the celebratory mood. Everybody in Toronto's loving basketball these days, but their Raptors are champions and Canada wins today, Mike.
Yeah, first of all, awesome to have these school kids in the stands and give them a chance to have the day off, or at least the morning off, and come and see some great basketball. And hopefully as the summer goes on, these kids will get a chance to look back and say, man, I saw Canada play the Argentinians, you know, and they're talking about it after they've watched Canada win a gold medal, hopefully in Lima.
And some of them got to play in halftime in a little exhibition. That had to be a blast too.
Yeah, and what a great lesson for the kids. They get into a chair, they start shooting baskets, playing up and down the court, and they start realizing that, hey, wheelchair basketball, stand-up basketball, it's all just basketball. It's a sport that everybody loves and everybody can play, and they get a chance to not just share from the stands. You're right, get a chance to share on the court.
And there's that Canadian team. We see veterans, we see young players. Just about everyone we see, I think, got on the floor for the Canadian. I think everyone got to play today, and that's obviously a key for the coaches as well, to try to integrate all of those players into the preparation for this year and next year and forward.
Yeah, it takes a lot of discipline for the coaches to make sure they get everybody in, and get everybody in minutes that matter when the game's on the line, whether they're a young player or a veteran player. Because as we've talked about in the past, those young players take that experience, they'll bring it into practice. They'll be better in practice. That'll push those veterans. That gets the veterans better, and the young players continue to get better. So now they're ready for that moment that they'll get in Lima. And at some point in time, each of those players will be called on to contribute to the path, the journey that the team's on right now. And this sets the stage for that contribution to be a great contribution.
Yeah, Canadians definitely used different lineups, got offensive output, defensive stops from those different lineups. And as we mentioned, came from behind to beat Argentina. Good camaraderie, though, everybody gathering at the end of the game. And the Canadian team, again, this week will not only be playing Argentina, but will be playing the Netherlands as well, as both the visiting nations are in preparations. The Netherlands in their European Championships, Argentina in the Pan American Games. And such an important part of the program to try to qualify for the Paralympics. And maybe people don't realize how difficult it is these days, but it is very difficult just to get your team to the games.
Yeah, it's extremely challenging, and just to be able to qualify to get to the Paralympics is a huge accomplishment. Next year, people will tune in and they'll watch the Paralympics for the first time, and they won't realize that a lot of those teams, their battle to get there didn't start a couple of days before Tokyo. It started more than a year before Tokyo. And so that's what this means today. This is part of Tokyo. It's intimately connected, and you can't get away from that.
You can follow Wheelchair Basketball Canada online and follow the Canadian men's and women's teams' journeys on the road to the Lima 2019 Pan American Games and through to the Tokyo 2020 Paralympic Games, and hey, through to Paris in 2024. We look forward to the journey. Hope to have you along. On behalf of Mike Frogley, my name is Rob Snook. On behalf of our entire team that's worked so hard to put this broadcast together, Sport Canada TV, we certainly thank you for tuning in to this morning's game, an exciting game that ends with Canada beating Argentina by a final score of 60-55 here at the Pan Am Sports Center. So long for now.
He's got his own category of dancing. There's a cube, he does the, I don't know how he does it. Yeah, something like
He likes to move the shoulder, I would say.
techno, you know? Yeah, I don't know how he does it. It's mystical.
I can't move my shoulders like that anymore. Too many injuries. I used to dance a little bit anyway, back in the day.
Look at him, and he cuts it himself. That looks good.
That's an extra point, right?
Cuts his own hair. Yeah.
Really?
It's always, yeah.
He has pretty nice hair too. It's not like a buzz cut. It's like a proper haircut.
I know. He takes pride in it too.
It's always in place. It's always fixed. It's
Or Dion has options, some beautiful options, big, tight. But Bo just has a naturally beautiful head of hair, does he not?
Dion's hair's been pretty good the last few days.
Yeah, did you see it yesterday?
Yeah, it was good yesterday.
I liked it the day before, and then he picked it out.
I had beautiful hair in the past.
You did.
Bo's got an interesting laugh. I can't quite imitate it, but he's got
gonna pick Bo or Colin.
he's got an interesting laugh for sure. Yeah.
Dave, can you do Blaze? I was thinking more of like a giggle.
It's very genuine and vocal.
It's closer.
Closer?
Yeah, he giggles a lot.
Who do you got, Nick?
I got Nick. What's Nick's laugh? Doesn't happen a lot, but when it happens.
He kind of rolls his head back like that.
I don't have much hope for any of them, but most likely to survive?
Wouldn't be me. I don't like the beach.
It wouldn't be me. I need to eat too much. He'll eat pretty much anything too.
He's got experience living in a tent.
I would say Pat, he's pretty smart. Yeah, I would say the least though is Garrett for sure. He would not survive an hour.
No, he wouldn't.
No.
I said Willie. Yeah, he's pretty inventive, and I think he would just thrive there.
Hold on, look at me there. Oh yeah. I think that looks like
He's in a wheelchair. He's got a pretty big nose. Looks a lot like him. That's pretty good, actually.
I mean, he's got a small nose, cute little small nose. Not much hair there.
We got Patrick here with the long arms, juggling basketballs, at the same time filming himself for Instagram. It's like when you
Well, here we've got Bo's. We've got the day shirt, and he's got a little bit of a belly and some nice hair.